Hello there. Today I'm not going to read you from my next chapter. I'm going to do that in a day or two. But what I want to share with you today is something that I've actually cut out of the book, but still really like. When you sign a contract for a book, you often have a certain number of pages or words you need to bring it in at. And and so I had to kind of do a little bit of cutting here and there to trim things down and make it fit. So I took this passage out, even though I really like it, because I think it's really I think it really it's about a very interesting passage in the Fellowship of the Ring that I noticed something about, and I'm just going to share that with you today. So I'm going to start off by reading a paragraph from Tolkien, and then I'm going to comment on it, and I'm going to read a little bit more Tolkien and comment on that. It's not as long as it all sounds, but notice the way Tolkien passes the perspective from one character to the next in this paragraph, and then you kind of get a surprise, and then passes it back again, and you kind of get a surprise. So let's get started on that here. Here's Tolkien. This is Book 2, Chapter 9 of the Fellowship. The heart of Legolas was running under the stars of a summer night in some northern glade amid the beechwoods. Gimli was fingering gold in his mind and wondering if it were fit to be wrought into the housing of the lady's gift. Merry and Pippin in the middle boat were ill at ease, for Boromir sat muttering to himself, sometimes biting his nails, as if some restlessness or doubt consumed him, sometimes seizing a paddle and driving the boat close behind Aragorn's. Then Pippin, who sat in the bow looking back, caught a queer gleam in his eye as he peered forward, gazing at Frodo. Sam had long ago made up his mind that, though boats were maybe not as dangerous as he had been brought up to believe, they were far more uncomfortable than even he had imagined. He was cramped and miserable, having nothing to do but stare at the winterlands crawling by and the grey water on either side of him. Even when the paddles were in use, they did not trust Sam with one. Okay, that's the end of the Tolkien now. What a beautiful paragraph this is, in detail and movement, from character to character and from boat to boat. Beginning with the loveliness of Legolas' vivid, dreamlike memory, and Gimli's chivalrous, romantic imaginings, we never expect the uneasy turn it takes. With the uneasiness of Merry and Pippin at the disturbing, almost threatening behavior of Boromir. We then follow Boromir's gaze through Pippin's eyes straight to Frodo in the boat ahead with Strider and Sam. But suddenly and unexpectedly, since our attention has just been directed to Frodo, we find ourselves with Sam instead. But the introduction of Sam here, uncomfortable, unhappy, and untrusted Sam, is a misdirection. It lightens the menace of the sentences on Boromir, but only in order to refocus it a moment later on another threat that is present on the great river. Another one who has his eyes fixed on Frodo and Frodo's burden. The next paragraph reads, As dusk drew down on the fourth day, Sam was looking back over the bowed heads of Frodo and Aragorn and the following boats. He was drowsy and longed for camp and the feel of earth under his toes. Suddenly, something caught his sight. At first he stared at it listlessly. Then he sat up and rubbed his eyes. But when he looked again, he could not see it anymore. End quote. It is, of course, Gollum whom Sam has seen. But the way in which the narrator shifts our gaze from Boromir to Gollum is masterful. Notice how Sam is looking back towards the boats behind his own. Given the previous paragraph, we might expect him to have caught the same queer gleam in Boromir's eyes as Pippin did. But it is not so. For just as we followed Boromir's gaze forward to Frodo, but found Sam instead. We now follow Sam's back, not to Boromir, but to Gollum. Sam's remarking over and over again on Gollum's eyes further pairs these two threats. Nor is this the first time that Frodo has been the object of Boromir's intense gaze. As the moment nears when Frodo must decide between Minas Tirith and Mordor, danger is converging on him from more than one direction. From Gollum, of course, but also from Boromir, who, desperate to save his land, feels quite keenly the anguish of the choice which lies before Frodo. And if Gollum, as Boromir himself said, is small but great in mischief, what is Boromir? And that's the end of that. But anyway, I just love the way you start out with Legolas, you move to Gimli, and you move to Pippin and Merry, and then Pippin looks back, and then Pippin looks at Boromir and is kind of creeped out by him, and then we follow Boromir's gaze forward towards Frodo, but instead we get Sam, and then we get Sam who's looking backward, right? And instead of noticing Boromir, he sees something else. He sees Gollum. He sees the other threat to Frodo that's just out of reach. It's just out of sight. Anyway, I thought that was a good passage, and I really enjoyed following it along with you. So take care, and I'll see you soon with the next excerpt from the book. Bye bye.